Hello and welcome to the Hopecast with Rachael Flick. Rachael is a speaker, inspirational author, and an overcomer. As Rachael is walking through her own journey of grief, she's challenging others to persevere and overcome their own circumstances. Find out more at rachelflick.com. Here now is your host, Rachael Flick.
Hey everybody, welcome back to part 2 of my interview with Kindra McNamee, one of my dearest friends in the whole world. She and I are tackling the story of her entering into the grief journey with me after Micah passed away. Last week we heard her experience of just the shock and the hard shift that was required to come alongside of me in I just keep saying it, the darkest days of my life, like that. It's so intimidating to take on that type of storm. And Kindra and some other of my dearest friends who I hope I get to introduce you to in the future did that with such courage and beauty, even in the beautiful and the brutal parts of my story. Kindra is a mom of 3. She has a son 9, Caleb, a son Josh 7, and a daughter Grace, who is 1. She has been married to Pat for 13 years, and Kindra and I have been walking through our journey of motherhood since both of our, I guess all 3, since I have twins, of our firstborns were in their first year of life and have done a lot of leadership and a lot of life. We say cradle to grave. We've done it all in this relationship. So welcome back to this week's episode of the Hopecast. Kindra, I'm so grateful for you being here.
Thank you for having me back and for continuing this conversation. I know it's hard and painful, but I really believe the Lord is going to use this to help others know, because on this side of heaven, more will happen, and tragedy is real, and it happens when we least expect it. And when we lean into others and learn from them, it can help us face whatever is coming. I truly believe that. So thank you for having me.
Yes. And just thank you for your honesty and courage with doing such a hard thing with me and being so faithful in it. So when we had wrapped up last week's episode, it took the whole time to just talk about a day, right? Yeah. And kind of some of the shifts that were needed and that it wasn't perfect, but that you were so brave to be there. So what happened next for you, and what were some of the things that you would give people as takeaways for ways that they can practically step into stories with their friends and family?
Sure. So I think it's good to pay attention to who your people are in life. Who is the Lord knitting you close to? Who is the Lord bringing into your life? And that relationship feels very purposeful. And you never know what's coming. And I don't say that in an ominous way. I say it also in a beautiful way. We've had experiences together because of our friendship that are incredible, and I love them. And so it doesn't mean bad when he's knitting you together. It means beautiful. And it means an important relationship that you can lean on each other. So you say that it was brave that I stepped into that place. I truly didn't feel like I had a choice. I wasn't forced, but the Holy Spirit was not shy in telling me where I needed to be in that moment of time. So I was thinking about this since our last conversation, and just very practical things that happened is because we know each other so well, I know what is comforting to you already.
Part of your 2 superpower is anticipating needs for people, and you do this exceptionally well.
It's fun, and it's fun to bless people and to see them being loved on and receiving that. But this was different, but I do know things that help you. And there was nothing that could take away your shock and your pain in that moment. But there were things externally that could make the environment less intense.
What were some of those things?
I remember getting your robe for you. I remember going down and I wanted to clean up your room for you. And then I stopped myself because Micah's clothes were on the floor. And you were not down there with me, but I remember I was there with Beth, and we looked at each other and we had our own grief moments, and then thought we shouldn't touch those. That's not okay. And then I thought, well, I'm going to change your sheets and I'm going to make your bed fluffy and beautiful for you. But then those were the sheets that you slept on with your husband the night before. And I remember asking if you wanted new sheets, and you had this very emotional response. No, you did not. So I just made your bed, and I fluffed your pillows, and Beth got your diffuser going with essential oils. We turned the lights down low. We had really sweet worship music going, just a space for you to be in with the Lord that didn't feel chaotic already. A few days went by truly before you ate anything. And I remember feeling progressively like anxious about that. Like, she is going to die.
I pretty much didn't eat anything that year. I didn't really eat anything.
But you know what? Our bodies are amazing, created by the Lord. And when you are in a place of such extreme pain, systems just slow down. So just
the body
be
went
encouraged.
into fight or flight.
Absolutely. So be encouraged. If you are walking with someone through tremendous grief and they're not eating, it's okay. Get them to drink water, because they're probably crying a ton and getting very dehydrated. Water and coffee were really powerful for you.
Yeah.
But be okay with that if they're not doing normal, basic things in that initial time of shock. Absolutely. I remember then, because of the nature of how he died, there was going to be 2 funerals. There was going to be a private ceremony for friends and family. There was going to be a public, is it a state funeral? Is that technically what it's called? Okay. With thousands?
Over 8,000, I think 10,000 at the state funeral.
And that had to be planned in that week, that first week. My dear friend Rachael, like I said, know your people. She hates admin on her very best day of her life. Like, anything admin related, she would like to poke with a fork and never see it again. I thrive on admin. And so it was really interesting how our friends, again, Beth and Viola, they also are beautiful with admin, that the 3 of us, the Lord allowed us to sway back and forth from sitting Shiva with you and taking care of you, and also jumping into gear with
and really buffering me. I mean, honestly, I have so very few memories of what you were doing.
People asking you a lot of what do you want and what do you want. We would have an idea of what you didn't want, and then we would know if it was something that was really important to you. Like the slideshow, for instance. There were several people saying, I don't think we have time to put this together. And I know you and your love of photography and pictures and memories and music. I said, this is not an option. This will happen. We need to. And again, my not normal.
You didn't people please.
No, it was crazy how the Lord empowered me. So jumping into my own giftings was actually very cathartic for me that week. And it was a blessing for you, because it was things you didn't have to do. So I remember that week, yes, being in my giftings, but also having to step completely out of my comfort zone and go with you into some really hard places, the coroners and the funeral home. My experience with death is very minimal in my life. I'm grateful for that. I've had grandparents pass away who've lived long, beautiful lives, and we've celebrated them as they've gone to live with Jesus. This was my first experience of having a friend die.
Yeah,
and someone
I think
my
for
own
all of
age.
us, honestly, it was one of the first.
Yeah, and so everything, just the logistics that follow to care for your spouse when they have been killed and what that looks like. But then add to that the public, the necessity, the honor, the regale that goes with a police officer being killed in the line of duty. It's next level. I mean,
everywhere we went, there were hundreds of motorcycle cops, and it was on the news, and they closed the roads.
Yeah, you couldn't go anywhere without having a processional, which at first I'm like, this is crazy. And then I look back and what beautiful honor. Like, holy honor.
Micah's body was never alone that week. He always was accompanied by a member of the honor guard, no matter day or night. At the coroner, at the funeral home, their honor guard was always with him.
Yes. And to see that, I had a new appreciation for law enforcement too after this whole thing. I've always been a huge fan, but this was incredible to see what they do to honor their fallen friend. So to be available no matter what is asked of you, I personally have never chosen on my own to witness an open casket, but that was asked of me that week. And with honor and with the strength of the Holy Spirit, I walked through that with you.
Yeah.
And the Lord showed up every place we go. And I say that, like, I know it sounds so basic for theology, but to feel his presence every moment of every day that first week.
It was so tangible.
So tangible. So things that I never thought I would do, I didn't want to do. When he asked me to do it, he 100% empowered me. So just an encouragement. If he's asking you to do something in a support role that you think, I can't do this, you're right. You can't do it on your own, but you absolutely can do it if Jesus is asking you to do it with your friend.
Oh, man. And he asked you for a lot. And you did. You were with me every single day. And I mean, those were not 9 to 5 days. Those were like the moment of waking till after I went to bed.
Oh, I remember something too, that a beautiful thing that happened that week is there was an abundance of food for you. And since you were only eating 1 raspberry per day, there was so much. So we were trying to find other ways for people to help and to serve, because it's what the Lord was asking them to do. People fed my family for a whole week.
Know that.
Yeah. So that's an encouragement too. If there's like extra help, make sure your support people, whether it's you or your family member,
that's
are
okay
also
to ask
getting
for them
support
as well.
Yeah, I felt super weird. I'm like, oh, could you maybe take it to my family? And then people are saying, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. So my husband and kids help the helpers because they needed that sustenance. And there needed to be someone stepping into a place that the jobs that I would do typically, so I could be there from 7 to 7.
At least 7 to 7. So Kindra was there with me all of those days. We literally, she and Vi and Beth absorbed so much of the admin for me. And yet in my mind, there literally was not a spare moment where I wasn't attending to details of end of life and funeral planning and family flying in and things coming and going. And so I can't even imagine if there had been more that people weren't absorbing for me. And it wasn't just like, could you file this? Could you do some data entry? It was, can you enter into an administrative place of meeting with the funeral director, choosing the casket? Do we like this, enamel? Do we want eagles on the side? Do we, what color satin lining? Do you want, what kind of flowers? I mean, like those are administrative decisions, but that is an incredibly grief-charged, emotion-laden space. If you guys don't know this already, grief makes you crazy and it brings out the best in people and the worst in people. And so not only was Kindra navigating how to help me through this week, she's navigating all of the people who are playing bumper cars in their pain that were coming through the house, hundreds of people in the house, trying to facilitate communication. The load of what to do being so heavy that we were planning the family funeral surrounded by 10 people, pastors, law enforcement, friends, Micah's mom, and I'm getting my hair foiled. It was time for me to get a cut and color. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be on television giving the eulogy, I should probably get my hair done, right? It's so practical. But that was the pace of that week. And so Kindra, how did you get through that? Like just practically for your body, with your family. I know that we can go into an immediacy, a fight or flight, but you did that first week with me, but it's not like you stopped at the end of the state funeral and went home and were like, phew, now I can take naps. Like, what did you do for yourself that allowed you to support me to the intensity and the length that you did?
So about a week after it happened, I intentionally started exercising again, making time for that. It felt like a huge waste of time. At first, it felt like disrespectful to you.
Interesting.
Rachel needs me, but the body can only go so long in fight or flight. I do believe I was in fight or flight for a week, which is a long time to stay in that space. I doubled up on vitamins. I was trying to drink a bunch of water. I enjoyed
the food that was on the table.
I ate the food. I am a grief eater. We found, and Rachel is a grief not eater. So you'll learn things about yourself when you grieve. I slept terribly, like truthfully, and that's okay. And expect that you're going to sleep poorly, and then the Lord's going to give you the energy you need to run. And then when it was time to rest, I rested hard. I mean, in as much as you can, being a mom and a wife and continuing to support you. But I do recall there were times where the Lord would give me a picture of a glove and that his hand would go in the glove, and showing me that I was like the glove, and his hand would come into me and I would be able to do what he's asking me to do. And then he would remove his hand and the glove was still there. And it's like, if you had called me in that moment to come and be with you, I had nothing to give you. But you didn't call. Any time, though, before you would call or before I needed to be with you, he would fill up that glove. And he gave me that picture over and over and over again. So to be okay with not being on all the time as a support person.
Let yourself shut it off when you're not serving.
Let yourself shut it off. Let yourself be silly. Like, we had friends who came to stay with us for the funeral, Blake and Sydney. And I thought... or did they stay at our house? I actually don't even remember if they stayed at our house. They were just at our house a lot. Okay. So I remember one night they were playing a game and we were being silly and laughing. And I thought, oh, this is so disrespectful. This is not okay. But the Lord he laughed with me.
Yeah.
And so
just like my kids doing cartwheels in the snow.
Absolutely.
And then coming in and crying and then going, like to toggle in and out, to let yourself take breaks.
Yes. And if you're the person who is in the most immense grief, that probably isn't going to be possible for a long time.
Yeah, I couldn't toggle.
Right. But for those of us who are support people, that's a welcome reprieve from the Lord that he set our bodies and our brains up to do that. So to be okay with that process. I do recall Beth, Vi, and myself and you and Holly going to Dillard's because you needed dresses.
Yes.
All of us did not have appropriate black dresses for state funeral. And that felt like it was going to be horrible. I mean, how do you go in and pick the dress for your husband's funeral?
Right.
But we ended up, I think it was a combination of shock and being delirious and being exhausted, and
it was also somewhere normal.
Joy of
like
shopping.
Going to the mall.
We like to shop. Yeah.
Like we have positive associations with going together someplace fun.
Yes.
Even though it was like the worst reason ever, but we were still together.
The dark humor that reared its ugly head, though.
Some serious dark humor.
Be okay with that as a support person. If your grieving person goes down that dark humor path, just join them. It's okay.
So I specifically remember this, that we were buying shoes.
Yeah.
And, Micah was on a county employee salary and we pinched our pennies very tightly. And, I always tried to minimize my spending. And this was really hard for me to be like, okay, I'm buying 3 dresses and, a wool pea coat and new shoes. And like, I just didn't have anything that was appropriate for the things that we needed to do that week. And I was like,
we can't wear our ski jackets to the wedding.
No, I kind of
girls needed some fancier stuff.
We did need to up our Colorado casual. And I remember saying to my friends when I bought the shoes, I was like, hey guys, like Micah doesn't care how much I spent on these shoes. And it was just that moment of laughing. He'd been dead for 3 days and I'm joking about our finances and that we don't have to have a fight about purchasing the shoes.
And I don't recall any salespeople. I don't recall anybody else in the store. I'm sure they were there.
I don't either.
But we were in this little bubble that was sweet and dark and sad.
It was beautiful.
And funny.
It was brutal and beautiful.
Yeah, I remember that one experience. So just allowing yourself to crack weird jokes, if that is helpful.
Absolutely. So in the course of the time, in the immediacy of Micah's death, I went through hell in my soul.
Yes.
And I know that for you as a 2, like, show support, love, anticipate need, alleviate burden. Those are your go-tos. I mean, that's just your strength again and again and again. And yet you couldn't take that from me.
Right.
So what do you do when the person that you're caring for is grieving beyond the level that you can't do anything more? You couldn't possibly have done anything more, and they're still not hurting and they're not better. And how do you handle that, tension, and then also Well, after you answer that, I would love for you to just speak to the things that people do when they're in that tension and they want to help, and then they say stupid things like heaven needed another angel, or, God always has a plan, or this, the things that hurt because they can't help, kind of some of those things. So what did you do with that tension of like the stuff that you couldn't do for me?
I don't have a great answer for that. It's still painful for me. I still wish I could have taken more of that for you in that first year. It was a solid year, I would say, before there was a turn for you. And then there was a new year of different hard. Yeah. I sought wise counsel from pastors, from women who had lost their husbands, who are pastors in our lives. And I would say, what is to be expected and what is outside of the realm of what we could expect. And it kind of was just like a test for me of, am I doing enough to support her? Am I overstepping and stepping into the place where only Jesus can comfort her? Or should I resource others because she might need help in this specific area because I don't see her bouncing back? What I learned is that normal was way longer grief and pain than what I expected. I didn't think you'd snap back into feeling great, but I was surprised with the length of the grief process. And everyone's going to have a different length. And
it's going to be different from a traumatic tragedy versus like someone like our grandparents who died full lives surrounded by their family in hospice, and were ready to go home.
Right. It is different. It does. The tragic incident does affect the length of and intensity of the grief. And this, there's not much worse than having your husband murdered at a young age in your 30s. So, I don't have a great answer for that other than seeking wise counsel of people who have either been in a similar situation or who are very well connected into my life and your life, or for our listeners and you and your person's life, and letting yourself off the hook when you don't do it great, and knowing that you cannot maintain the level of support that is required in the immediate, let's say 3 months out, 6 months out, 1 year out. My expectations for myself were really high. The Lord gave me an order, and that's not too strong of a word, and I was going to rise to that occasion.
And above.
Until I crashed. And I did multiple times. Then there were places where it got messy and muddled because I would step into a place where you just needed to be with Jesus. And I wanted to take that from you. And you would call me at night and you would be crying and I would come over. And I'm like, what can I do? I'll make you a bath, or I'll put your diffuser on her. And I could do all the things and you were still in so much pain.
Yeah.
And so I'd try, and then I would get into fixing because I'm like, well, it's been 6 months. I'm going to start fixing, which is never our role as the support person. When the Lord asks you to sit Shiva and to walk with a friend through tragedy, very rarely in my experience did he call me to fix anything, because those are two separate things. And you didn't really need fixing. You needed things. You need presence from me. And then you sought on your own wisdom on, is this normal? Is this how I should be feeling?
Going to other widows and grieving people,
don't underestimate your grieving person's ability to resource for themselves, or do some resourcing for them. You do not have to be everything to them all the time, and it's not possible and it's not healthy.
You made some appointments for me for counselors and therapy for when I just couldn't do any more admin.
Right.
And so in that way, it was someone else helping me, but you helped me get there.
And I could sense when something was all of a sudden above my pay grade, where your level of pain was at a place where I had not experienced that with myself or anyone else. And I didn't know what the right thing was to say.
Yeah.
So I would sit with you, and then I would do admin of sourcing some help for you. And, truthfully, we could do 10 episodes on this.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where there were places where we were too involved with each other. We were too enmeshed. We were too
I think
entangled.
honestly, if I process, I think in some ways you stepped into that spousal place in my heart, not in an inappropriate way, or any way that you would associate a spouse with romantic connection, but just you became my person.
Yeah.
And I processed with you, and I called you, and I spent the time with you, and you went with me to all these appointments and did all of these things. And when you lose your spouse, you have this gaping hole in all of these emotions and all of these things and all the roles that they've played for you. And in many ways you stepped into those, and we had to find a way out over time to begin to unweave some of those and allow me to stand on my own 2 feet again.
Yeah. So be encouraged if you feel like maybe you're in that place. If your listeners feel that way, like you are very involved and enmeshed with someone who's grieving in their journey, you can always untangle a little bit. The Lord will help with that. And I knew it was time too when my husband was
missing his wife.
He was missing his wife. I wouldn't even tell him when I would leave in the middle of the night anymore. I would just send him a text that he would get when he woke up in the morning. And I was always home before he had to leave for work. But he started to say, like, I need you not to just leave during the night. Like,
just disappear.
You just disappear. And so there is a beautiful progression that happens that
can happen.
It starts so intense, so many hours we spent together. And then slowly the glove didn't get filled as often anymore. And you didn't need me as much.
I began to grow around the pain.
You began to grow around the pain. My life started moving forward in areas that had been stagnant for a long time. I mean, that our daughter, who we waited for 6 years, it was so interesting because we were actively hoping to get pregnant during this whole season. And with no medical explanation, the Lord was just no. And it wasn't until it
was about 15 months after Micah died.
Turned a very significant corner in your grief season. And then I did become pregnant with our daughter. And so,
I'm sorry for holding that up. I feel responsible for how long you struggled with those prayers for grace.
39-year-old with a 1-year-old. It's going so well.
Geez, Micah.
I know, right? That Micah. So the Lord has all of this in his hands, and the way that he orchestrated my life to be able to support Rachael was so beautiful looking back. But just know that it's not without mistake. It's not without not doing it perfectly. It's not without your own pain. I had to go to therapy for my own grief over Micah, and that's okay. And I readily admit that. My children both went to a child psychologist following Micah's death because they had really big feelings and really little bodies. And so make sure that your own self-care doesn't get completely thrown out the window, but be okay with the fact that it's going to be diminished for a while when the Lord calls you to a support position like this.
This is really rich, friend. I just am so honored to come and hold this space with you and to get to reminisce. Our lives are so busy that it's not like we sit around processing 2018 together, and we probably need to, but I mean, you got pregnant and I still had more grief tasks. And I mean, you walked me through a move that year. Like, I really can't think of
it. On my birthday, which you didn't even remember until afterwards.
No.
And if any of you know me, you know how much I love
Oh
my
my gosh, I still probably have to make up for this.
So as a support person, you might get asked to move a house
literally,
on your birthday.
Kendra and Vi and Beth and my mentor Kim, who you've heard from, they... We had to move out of the storage space. I was living with my in-laws and into a new home. And it did happen to fall on Kendra's birthday. And the grief brain chotch bag that I was did not honor that in any way that would have been helpful. I was fully in survival mode and not eating and not sleeping at that time. And so I'm going to give myself a tiny hall pass, but I need to buy Kendra a really big present to make up for it.
Or you did take me to Hawaii the following summer.
I did take you to Hawaii. Can we split at least split the difference?
Yeah. She said, I feel like I want to take the kids to Hawaii, but I need a support person. Do you think you'd maybe want to come with me and Vi? And I'm like, oh, that sounds so terrible. Yes, absolutely. So Hawaii is very helpful with healing.
Hawaii is a beautiful place to heal.
It is.
Yes. We spent some beautiful mornings on the lanai drinking coffee together and just processing life and walking through that. So again, the brutal, right? The brutal and the beautiful hard. And we've pretty much done it all. I pray in Jesus' name that we've done it all. Like, don't let there be anything else. But Kindra, thank you so much for being here today and sharing this story. You gave some really awesome tips and techniques and just things that people can use to process, because everybody's story is going to be different.
Yes.
Their circumstances are going to be different. They won't, connect necessarily with the line of duty or having the news crews coming or, doing press conferences and all of those things that were part of this story. But you have given so many practical, tangible things that people can use. And so I'm just going to pray for you guys really quick, because if you're needing this information, you are in the thick of it and you know someone who has experienced great loss. And so, Lord, I just pray for the listeners of the Hopecast today that you would fill and infuse them with your Holy Spirit, just like Kindra talked about needing to lean on and rely on your voice hour by hour and moment by moment, that they would lean into you and rely on you with all of their heart, all of their mind, and all of their soul. And Lord, I just thank you that you are faithful and that you cannot deny your nature and that you will show up in these places. And I just pray provision over these families who've experienced loss and need this support. And Lord, I pray that you would help the helpers, that the people who have compassion fatigue right now, who have loved so much and gone so far with the people in their life, and now they need support, that you would just be speaking to those people right now, that it is okay to ask for help. It's okay to care for your body. It's okay to take breaks. It's okay to pull in outside resources. And Lord, I just thank you for this opportunity with my friend and the space that you've held for this really precious conversation. And I ask that it would bless many people in Jesus' name. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this week's episode of the Hopecast. If you didn't catch part one of my interview with Kindra McNamee, go back a week and make sure that you hear the intro of our story together. And you can also go back and check out some of those episodes with other people that we mentioned, like my mentor, Kim, and ways that you can begin to resource yourself and take good care of yourself on your journey to hope and healing. See you guys next week.
You've been listening to the Hopecast with Rachael Flick. To find out more, go to rachelflick.com. While you are there, you can book Rachael for your next speaking engagement. Her inspiring message will be sure to engage and touch the heart of your audience at your next conference, church event, or business function. Go to rachelflick.com to book her today. While you're online, you can discover more information about all of the platforms that this podcast is on. If you listen to the show on Apple Podcasts, we would appreciate it if you would subscribe and leave us a review. To follow Rachael on social media, simply click on the social media icons at the top of the page and you will be directed to those sites. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time for another edition of the Hopecast with Rachael Flick.